So let me begin the discussion for today. We are already live, and a lot of people have joined from across the globe. We have around 20-25 people joining in at the moment, and a lot of others will join during the progress of this discussion. So first of all, thank you so much, Nuri and Mona, for coming along and accepting the invitation to be on the E-Summit on startups, funding, and IP. This is the first day of the summit, and we're going to be having three more round of panel discussion with exciting speakers. And I cannot tell you how much I was waiting to talk to you guys after our discussion on Friday. Like after talking to you guys, I actually dig out that what all things people can learn from you, because there are so many things you can share. Both of you individually has experience of around 15 plus years of corporate experience, and then also mentoring, teaching, running your own business. So I'm super excited. Thank you so much, both of you, to accept this invitation and coming onto the panel. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Thank you
Brian.
for
Thank you for having us here.
Yes.
Excited to be part of this panel and excited to listen to the discussions in the subsequent days as well. Good lineup of speakers that you have. So many congratulations for that.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So one of the point we were discussing before going live was the social dilemma, right? In fact, social media helped us to identify all of you guys. We looked at your profile, we looked at the kind of business you guys are doing, and the kind of image you have in your own social network, which actually helped us to contact you, make connections with you, and then invite you as a speaker. So for me, even though yes, there are like saying that if you are not paying for a service, you are basically a product, right? That's what the people in the social network world do say about. But for us, it has been very interesting uh, platform where we can connect to each other, and that's a great thing about the social media as well. So let's start the discussion by having some conversation on Nuri's front. Nuri, you have been into tech business for so long, like you have already sold three different businesses, and with you had made successful exits as well. You are already running your fourth one, and actually you did two exits,
two. Yeah.
two successful exits.
I've had that.
Okay.
I've had the good fortune of doing it twice.
All right. Wow. So, but then you have been into this habit of making the businesses and then selling this off, right? What, according to you, is the single thumb rule which is common in all of those businesses?
So I'm a voracious reader, and I find things and I look for the things that help me understand. And I reread a book recently called Grit by a lady on the East Coast by the name of Angela Duckworth.
Mm-hmm.
And the quote that I have sitting in front of me as we incorporated this company in 2014. We've spent 6 years building a product after talking to 600 professionals around the world over a period of 2 years. And I participated on most of those calls, but it talks about grit, and grit is defined as passion, and it's perseverance for very long-term goals. It's stamina. It's sticking with your future day in and day out, not just for a week, not for a month, but for years, and working really hard to make that future a reality. It's a marathon, not a sprint, which is very much a Silicon Valley phrase, but this is what we do. You know, before Mona joined us, you and I were talking how at 10 o'clock at night, last night, in our respective time zones, both of us were still working. And for me, my email responses started at 6:30 this morning, Pacific Daylight Time. And that's my life. But on the flip side, you have to have balance. You have to find the things, and we talked a little while ago about the things that give us balance, the things that give us sanctuary, and you have to have the time for those things. Unfortunately, COVID has removed a couple of things from my life by necessity, the most important being my exercising regularly. But I find now I take my dog out for a walk many times a day to get a little bit of exercise, but do it more often. Mona, what do you do?
So Nuri, for time off, I have 2 kids. So I take them, I
Wow.
take them out.
What's
They must be
time
keeping you
off?
on your toes.
So yeah, so given the busy times, the busy lives that we have, whatever time is left, that's all dedicated to the family. And of course, I also try and catch up on reading whenever I can. But weekends, what I try to do is, kind of be, a digital detox once I'm home. And there's 2 hours which are completely dedicated to kids, and it's only after that that I get to my meals again. And morning, of course, the morning hour before it gets absolutely crazy, that's the time I actually dedicate to clearing my meals and getting to work.
Wow, interesting, lovely habit you have for the morning. Uh, hey, Sandhya, thank you so much for joining in. We were all excited to have a discussion around some of the daily habits which we have. Nice to see you here. Sandy, you would have to unmute yourself.
Okay, can you guys hear me fine now?
Yes, we can.
Hi everyone.
Morning.
Hi. So, Sandy, we are already live, and a lot of people are again joining in. And we were just having discussion about what is that one particular thing which keeps everybody, every entrepreneur going, no matter how tough the situations are. So, Nuri said that it's grit, it's the passion which he loves the most, and he has been working till late night yesterday. In fact, I was also working till late night yesterday, talking to our clients, taking care of their work products and the deliveries. And now we have the same question for you as well. What is that one thing which is keeping you uh, in focused in the tech business, being a woman? How does it feel like? What is that one reason of you? In fact, yes, Mona is also smiling because she
That
also,
was quite a sexist comment.
no. I don't want to be that one, because I was just looking at the data, okay, and I just read the Sandy's profile where she was working with the Harley Davidson, was handling around 200 folks, and she herself wrote somewhere on the social media that she was, even though she was managing the team of 200, there were only 6% of them were the women. If I'm not wrong on the data. So I wanted to
3%.
actually 3%, yes, total
6
6
women.
were there.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I wanted to take inspiration from you guys and distribute to the network, saying that, see, these are the two power packed individuals we have who have broken all the barriers and can be looked upon as an example to move forward. So of course there's no sexist comment here. I do not want to go in that direction for sure.
Just okay.
Yes. All right. Yeah. So, Sandy, what do you think? What is your take on being that one who has been a woman, your mother of child, and then also running a business? So, what is that one thing which keeps you going?
Yeah, I think it is like Nuri said, it is passion. And I was myself trying to figure the definition of passion. What is it? And I understood the definition like after a year or two into my business.
Mm-hmm.
I do it not because of money, not because of fame, not because of power. There's no reason to it. I do it because I want to do it. That's
Mm-hmm.
the passion definition. That's how I figured that's the definition. Why am I doing? Because something inside me wants me to do this. Not for any output, not for any anything that I'm going to gain materialistically. It's just because I want to do it.
Important to you.
Yes, that's what makes me happy. That's what it doesn't feel like work anymore. And definitely it is very challenging to do with all the things that we have to do as a woman. Mainly not because of anyone is forcing me to do certain things because I'm a woman, or the society has put certain things on me that I have to do as a woman. I mean, I did have that too in my mind. We all are brainwashed with the TV or whatever, right? But I mean, I was able to figure out it is me. I want to take care of my kids. I want to cook some good food for my family. I want to take care of, keep the house clean so that my kids and my husband feel good in the house. So I constantly keep telling myself, like, I shouldn't compare with all the other entrepreneurs. Maybe they're going faster than me right now, but doesn't matter because I have few other things that I want to handle well as well. And so that's one thing I would tell to all female entrepreneurs. If you're not going as fast as your counter male, if you're going faster, that's fabulous. If you're not going, don't that's not your scale. You have other things to do. So if it goes a little bit slow, it's okay.
Right, absolutely. So absolutely correct, Sandy. You do not have to compare yourself with anybody out there. Like for me, I always say that you have to be better version of yourself, right? Every
Yeah.
morning you have to get up and look at, okay, what am I going to do new? What is that I'm going to achieve this particular morning? And that's what keeps me going. That's what keeps us going. And that is the most fundamental thing which one should do, and not compare ourselves with others. Others might be great, others might be doing hundred of things, but every story is different. Everybody has a different story, and you cannot just simply compare because of a name, fame, and other materialistic things. You have to look at who you are, who you want to become, and what are your values, which is very important, I believe, for every human being as well as an entrepreneur. Coming to you, Mona, uh, you have been part of corporate industry for so long. Now, coming from a corporate industry setup and starting an accelerator where you actually nurture ideas, where you nurture brains and individual companies, small ideas, you help them grow along with your mentorship to run a scalable, sizable business, and also come up with their own business model with the regular fostering of in the complete environment which you have. So how does this transition happen? What was that thing which made you do this transition? I'm really intrigued about knowing this.
Priyank, thanks for asking that question, because this is something that we kind of talk a lot about. But there's a
Mm-hmm.
it's a big plunge, given the seductive environment of a corporate. Corporate is extremely seductive. It keeps you there while you may not feel very fulfilled, but it kind of keeps you there because there's monthly fat paycheck that you're getting, right?
Right.
That's a huge temptation. But to leave all of that and jump into this startup ecosystem, which is completely a a puzzle for somebody to look at from outside.
Mm-hmm.
It's been a journey. Of course, like Sandy mentioned, you should not compare your journey with anybody, but you should find support in people around you. So when I started my journey, it was along with my founder, Ashish Bhatia. So there's a lot of support that you get from those people who are around you,
Mm-hmm.
like-minded people who have a similar kind of passion, similar kind of ambitions in life. And that's when we started. We kind of took a decision back in 2014 to start something of our own. 2014 is when we started out with the technology services company. Then there were also some senior folks along with us who were senior architects. We started with a technology consulting company, and the whole idea was, to start something of our own, have startup of our own. So we partnered on a startup as well. That startup, of course, did not go anywhere. Quite
Okay.
likely, so because coming from corporate, we had this thing that we are senior people, everything is sorted, we'll get our way around. We just need to start something and it'll take off on its own. And of course, the reality, it was a huge reality check for us. We had a tough time figuring things out because in India specifically, the startup ecosystem is very, very fragmented. So for us to find out, where to get your technology solution done from, the legal, the financial, the basics, we had a tough time doing that. So that's when we started looking at the West to understand what's
Mm-hmm.
done better. Then we understood models of, what really an accelerator is. Because in India, it was pretty much unheard of back then. So then we understood
Yes.
models like Y Combinator, Techstars, Angel
Mhm.
Pad, 500 startups. So multiple such players in the US. Back in India, the numbers were this low. While we were the second or the third largest ecosystem, but number of accelerators, there's a huge gaping gap even currently. So that's when, every startup needs a white space to start out. And that's when we started out with the accelerator, because we felt there was a huge white space in India for that. So that back in 2017, the genesis happened.
Wow, exciting. So I'm all excited to know much more about the accelerator program. How can people apply to it and everything, so that our viewers can also get to know much more about the entire program. We'll of course go deeper dive in that. Before that, I just have one question to Nuri, because so Nuri is running a text master company, which provides compliance and governance solution. And what he says is the text master solution captures non-verbal communications on mobile devices and social medias, and then gives you insight. So Nuri, tell us about what is this non-verbal communication, and how you are linking the social media in, and what the solution is all about.
So both Sandy and Mona have talked about passion. And
Right.
from my perspective, one of the most important things that you have to have as you build a business is an unwavering belief that you're headed in the right direction, but you also have to be willing to, and using a sailing metaphor, you have to be willing to adjust the sails as you progress through wherever it is that you're going, because you're not always headed in the right direction, and the winds change and the rules change, and you have to figure out how to do this, and you have to have the personal confidence that where you're headed is the right direction, because it's your vision. What we've built, and I mentioned before we started, we interviewed 600 different compliance professionals worldwide over a period of nearly 2 years. And
Wow.
we knew of regulations that existed in UK through FCA, in the United States with FINRA, the SEC, FDIC, OCC, and then continuing that down the pipe. Federal, in the United States, federal takes precedent over state, but then you've got state that has regulations that affect federal and vice versa. So we looked at the environment, and we recognized that there was not anything that was going to address these issues in a way that prevented what are called data leaks. And what we have developed through 6 years of significant experiments and lots of failure, and one amazing success has been, we've developed a system that allows, in response to all these regulations, a financial institution, basically anybody that handles any form of money, to back up and archive all data that comes off of a device. Nobody but TechSmarter can archive SMS messages on Android, real time. Nobody can do it for iMessage. There are people out there that have different solutions for WhatsApp and for WeChat, but ours approach it in a different way. I don't like to be arrogant and say we've built a better system. What I do and what I am comfortable saying is we've approached a problem in a very different way. And the way that we've done it and the response that we're getting and speaking to some of the largest banks in the world blows my mind, because we're a very, very young company. We don't have our first customer yet. We were very close before COVID started, and I do believe the deal will get done, but everything came to a screeching halt come March. And we've taken that opportunity to continue to push our technology forward and focus on continuing to build a better service, rather than looking at it as, well, we're not going to use this time effectively. So we basically looked at a problem, we looked at the incumbents in the space and how they addressed the problem, and listening to the 600 people who generously gave us their time, we realized that that solution doesn't work. And then we tried to figure out how we could build the solution that worked. So we got the definition, and then we backfilled with building a solution that covered the needs of those 600 people.
Wow, excellent. So basically, before even starting the business off, you did an interview, like you did a humongous job of interviewing the 600 folks and learning from them their pain problems, their insights on what they actually demand and what kind of solution they look for in the market. And then accordingly, you started to make up your technology. That's so amazing. I believe Mona also would do might be doing the same exercise for all the new folks who are coming up with the billion-dollar ideas day in day out. So what is your take on the same question, Mona? Would you also advise to take in-person actual interviews of folks who are using some of the other services in the same domain of your new idea?
So Priyank, what we suggest our startups when we bring them on board. Of course, the startups that we take on board are generally which are already out there in the market, and they have some validation. But now we've made some left shift where we're also working with universities where we're providing incubation on premise. So a lot of these idea stage companies. And the first advice that we really give them is that go out in the market as early as you can. Understand the pain points of the customer. The biggest problem, the biggest issue that in a startup is the biggest reason for the failure of a startup is making a solution or coming up with a solution which nobody wants. So you really need to know that the target customer wants the solution for the pain point that they're facing, and that solution is something that they need. So you need to go out, speak with your customers, understand what they're really facing, what kind of solution that they want, and incorporate their feedback in the solution very early on.
All right. Yes, so go out to the market and test it out is what you are saying, right? But then there are also some kind of people who believes in disruptive idea. For example, Steve Jobs used to do, he created a phone which nobody ever thought of. He created for his own likes, right? He wanted to have a world's simplest phone without any keypad, without any buttons and all of that. And he used to say that I want to make a phone which people will lick. So he came up with that fantastic product, and now everybody of us is using all of those Apple products. So test it out again, of course, yes, golden rule. But coming to this side of disruptive things, disruptive ideas, I wish if you want to launch any ideas with that disruptive mindset, you would also require dozens of things to do. So I want to understand from Sandy specifically on this point, because she runs edX Academy, which provides computer programming and robotic classes to kids, to adults, to even senior citizens as well. So how do you launch, or how do you portray yourself, Sandy, where people are saying that, okay, I am just 6-year-old kid, okay, I don't want to go out, sit in front of the computer and do coding. I want to play games. I want to do Lego games. How do you approach these small kids and let them use your product effectively?
For kids, actually, it's easy. They do want to play. First thing, they want computer time. They like computer time. Probably now it's a different scenario with COVID, but before, like, parents do restrict quite a bit. And once they come to our class, like, they create their own game and they play on that game for hours. So they enjoy playing on their own game versus someone else's built. And within the class, if it's a class situation, they like to play each other's stuff. So for kids, it's pretty easy, and they love our classes. And once they are there, they don't want to leave. And now coming to the adults who needs to move to the job, either they want to move to the tech jobs or they just want some tech background, like they understand some basics of how computers think so that they can work with tech in the tech world. It is a little bit of learning curve for us as well. Like we work with a local non-profit organization which serves people who are 110% under poverty line. So for first cohort, we took anyone who wanted to learn. And we realized that we had like 50-year-old plumber, all age groups. We realized it's not for everyone. So we had to scale down to 2 different groups, and who are really in for becoming a programmer or being a tech person or just understanding technology so that they can do another kind of very tech related job, but not coding, like marketing or something. It's still very tech job. So those are the things we had to do. We had to put some checks and balances in places. And me coming from the other side, like as I said, I had over 200 people on my team, and I was automating the complete Harley-Davidson business processes on SAP. And once like my HR manager in the sense like he automates HR business processes, he wanted to move to master data management underneath on the same umbrella under my team. He wanted to move. So I had to hire another manager for HR processes. So we took that person who was helping us automate the business processes from the HR side within Harley-Davidson. I hired her. She was in England, and she works in England. And I literally had to double her salary when I moved her into my team. She couldn't believe it. I was telling on phone, she made me repeat 3 times. So I know like what we are training, they might not create a Google, they might not create a Facebook, but they can work in jobs that are at Harley-Davidson that are like those are not tech companies, right? I mean, right now everything is a tech company, but they can still understand business processes and do enough and get a decent job.
Wow. So are you also saying that you are teaching a plumber, a carpenter to learn programming and use those programming skills so that he can get another job?
Yes. Yes, that's right. The way we do it is like we make sure we train them in certification so that they have some certifications, and also they're building some real world projects. So they're building their resume as they're going through the course, and they can start as an intern. And like our main thing is that's our goal, to make it easy to learn and teach technology, to diffuse the people who are scared of technology. So to diffuse the fear that they have. Our platform has everything on the environment, and it'll learn the student as well. So to help where the student is struggling.
Wow, that's an incredible story. Like you are teaching folks who are 50+ years of age, and then you are teaching them how to code and entirely shift from their day jobs to a corporate life. That's incredible. Wow, you are really making a contribution by being into the tech. Thank you so much, Sandy, for such a huge contribution.
Oh, thank you.
Andy, I would definitely like to enroll my 2 kids, because
you
really made it sound very exciting.
Yeah, it is a lot of fun for kids.
Yeah. So Sandy, if I may have to ask you, let's say, do you have any success stories where a kid who's less than, let's say, 10 years has built something, or they are just doing the program or the modules which you have which you have for them?
No, like there are a lot of success stories. Like a lot of kids, I mean, once they can create this website, like I have seen 3 kids starting their own marketing agency. I don't know how far they went, but they created videos for me. And one of them we have on our website as testimonial. We put his website too. He seemed the most serious of all the 3 people. He created his own marketing agency once he learned to create websites with us. And once he got very comfortable with tech, as tech as these kids seem, right? We see a huge difference in the kids' tech savviness in 2 months. Before they come to our class, they're extremely good with anything sliding, anything touchscreen. In 2-3 months, they're very comfortable with operating systems, creating files. So there are most of our kids, they moved on to doing better things. And we put some of their websites, what they have created, their businesses on our website.
Wow, interesting. So you are also not only helping the older folks, you are also helping the kids to run their own business, do shifts into their careers as well. That's great. So that's interesting to know how you are using technology to help people in their daily life, Sandy. Now, I wanted to ask Nuri about how he used technology as to help in his business. I want to talk about Nuri about Emerald Asset. I read that you used to help raise the recovery rates using internet. What is that all about?
Well, that was a very, very long time ago and many lives ago. I just want to actually say something to Sandy quickly. Sandy, I believe that programming should become a core process in education, starting in elementary school, because I think there's almost nothing that should not be able to be done by a child. And when I told Priya earlier, I've had a cell phone for more than 30 years. And as my son, who will be 27 later this year, when he was a young child, his ability to navigate the different devices in my life was almost innate. And it was fascinating because where I struggled, he had it in a second. So I think what you're doing is just the precursor of how the educational system in the world needs to change. Prior, the things that we did at Emerald were we took certain processes, and Sandy spoke of this earlier. We took certain processes that had been being done through fax marketing and U.S. mail and a whole bunch of other what are now shrinking processes, and we digitized them. We started with marketing. We started with other ways of communicating, and by doing those things and lowering the cost to our clients, we were able to show market increases in recovery rates on assets that were surplus to the ongoing needs of our customers. And over the years, we did work for IBM and Sun Microsystems and Apple and Compaq and Hewlett Packard, and I could drop names for the next 5 minutes, but I won't. It's not polite. But we did work for a lot of the biggest companies in the world, and it was a change for them, because if you think back, and I couldn't say it's 10 years or 15 years, I don't have that knowledge, but if you think back 10 or 15 years, Apple wasn't selling computers online. They were selling, and it could be 20 years. I'm making up the number, of course, but that wasn't being done. Amazon 20 years ago was selling books, and the App Store didn't exist. Google Play didn't exist. We're watching some of the most transformational times in history, and it's fascinating to sit back and watch these things happen, because they're being done by people who learned how to code at Sandy School, for people who were incubated in Mona's accelerator program, right? Those are the things that are just amazing to me. I enjoy watching people succeed in ways that is outside of the norm. It's when I meet people and I interview people for roles in our company, and this conversation kind of got started a little while ago, but I had the benefit of interviewing President Reagan when I was in college, and the thing in that interview that he said that has stuck with me now for 35 years was surround yourself with the smartest people that you can find. And by doing that, I'm happy to say that from the very first time, my team has always been dominant with women. And I say that because frankly, I think women are smarter than men.
Of course.
And I don't mean that tongue in cheek in any way whatsoever. It's just, men think one way, women think another. And if you can put them together, you can win. And for us now, we have women on the team going all the way back to 1995 when I started my first company. The very first person I hired, Carol, was a woman that I worked with before, and she was the best human being. May she rest in peace. She was one of the best human beings I've ever known. And she knew things I didn't. I knew things she didn't. From a perspective of team, that's what you want. And I sit back and I listen to I try to help entrepreneurs, because for the last 35 years I've had so many people here in the Valley help me, and to the point where, and the true story, my very first company, we had a venture round that was getting ready to close. There was a delay, and I wasn't going to make payroll, and it would have been the only time. It would have been the only time, and it would have been a horrible experience. And I needed $60,000. So I called our advisors, and one of them said, "All right, drive to my office." And he and another person both wrote me $30,000 checks, and we made payroll. And
Wow.
I won't forget what Bill and Glenn did for me ever, because that's how you build something that succeeds. When you have a problem, go to the people that can help you. Go to the people, and I don't mean help you in the sense of writing you a check. Go to the people who've experienced this before. What did you do? What worked? What was successful? What failed? Why? Understand those things. And that's something that's hard for a lot of people to do. It's hard to ask for help. But if you don't, then you're on your own. And that's a lot of being an entrepreneur is the late nights, the early mornings, the being on your own and trying to make decisions. Go to your resources, having a strong advisory board, having an attorney who understands your business, who understands you. Our attorney at TechSmarter, his very first company that he ever structured was my company in 1995. So I have a 30+ year relationship,
Wow.
nearly 30-year relationship with him. And he has done every company that I have done. And that's kind of an aberration, but it's still it's a resource, somebody who you trust, someone who's going to tell you, don't do this, or do this differently.
Mm-hmm.
And then the biggest thing is to listen.
Right. Wow. So here is a secret sauce for all our viewers. Okay. If you want to be a great entrepreneur, learn from Nuri. Okay. He talked about having the smartest brain around. So guys, I read somewhere that we are an average of 5 people around us. So as Nuri said that he always has team of smart people, so that he can become smarter, right? So at Photon, we also emphasize a lot on this point. We recruit people who are smarter than us, people who can do things which we cannot even think of, people who can reduce time effortlessly, and great packs, great students, great folks fresh out of the college who want to conquer the world, and they have all this passion which is common in all of the employees as well, so that we can deliver good quality work to all our clients with care and speed. So yes, Nuri, thank you so much for the secret sauce of running a successful entrepreneurship and running multiple businesses as well. You also focused a lot on relationship, your person to person relationship. uh, you said that you had this attorney right from 95 till now who has been part of every other success story, right? uh, so I completely agree with you. This is so much important that we should have people who can take care of us, who can be the one whom we can always reach out to, be it your advisors, be it your mentors, be it your business coaches. We should always have army of people where we can freely go to seek any advice. So that's very great. And I like to understand from Mona on this, because as a part of your accelerator, I believe you also provide all the host of services to any individual who comes to you with so many questions, be it a legal question, be it how to write my market plan, how to come up with a business plan, what should be the go-to-market strategy, should I invest in digital marketing or not? All of this question would be coming very often to you and your team at Indian Accelerator. So what is the role? Okay, the question for you is, what is the role of important partnerships or the relationships within your network uh, while running your Indian Accelerator business? What role does that play?
So, the first thing, Prayan, that I want to call out is that while entrepreneurship is a very romanticized field, now it's, in fact, becoming a mainstream career also. It's also very lonely way. If you look at your peer group, there are a lot of people who are in the corporate job. Not too many would be in the entrepreneurship world. So you feel very lonely. You don't have too many of your kind. And that's when people tend to kind of get overwhelmed and disillusioned. That's where India Accelerators community comes in. We focus a lot. We take a lot of pride in saying that we are a very founder-friendly accelerator, and we focus on building a community that founders can rely on, and taking the point that Nuri said, that you need to surround yourself with the right kind of people, and this community becomes that strength for the entrepreneurs. And because there's so much cross pollination that can happen within this community, that because there are different stages, it's a mixed bag. There are startups of different stages, different use cases, but all backed by technology. So any problem that one startup may be facing, there's another founder who's already found a solution for it. So rather than reinventing the wheel, you take that solution that's already been done for you. So that's where this community comes in handy. And the second thing being the mentorship. The mentorship, again, what we do as a structure, we've been domain agnostic. So it's a twin track mentorship program that we run for them. So there's a horizontal track, which is common for all the startups. So whether it's technology, it's legal, compliance, accounting, go-to-market, strategy, operations, etc., we invite a functional expert to speak with the founders, provide some insights on it. That's more like a one-to-many session, but it evolves into a one-to-one equation. And these people are also established people in their own fields. So they become connectors for the startups. They help in opening the doors. Even if they are not able to provide help, they can help them get connected to the right kind of mentor, right kind of partnership that you mentioned. So there's, as a structure, there are 3 C's that we focus on. One, of course, is the cash, where we invest in the startup, and we bring in our network of investors to invest in the startup much earlier. So it works for the startup because they get that injection of fuel right in the beginning, and works for the investor also because the valuation, what we've typically seen from the time that a startup enters our cohort to the point that they graduate, their valuation increases anywhere from 3 to 4x. So it works for the investor to come in earlier in the life cycle, so they get a lot more attractive valuation. So that's the cash part. Second being the competency, the mentorship, the what I just spoke about, the competency program, the mentorship program. There's the twin track. So that's a 16-week program that we run with the startup. And third is the connects, where the partnerships come in. A lot of partnerships can help startups to increase their value proposition, to increase their revenue streams. So within our community, within our set of founders also, there's so much cross information that happens. There's a solution that one startup has to offer that can be taken by the second startup without organically trying to build a solution. So it helps in squeezing the timelines. It helps in enhancing their use case, their offering.
Wow, excellent. So it's great to know the 3 C's which you follow at Indian Accelerator. And of course, thanks for touching upon all the points so that if anybody who has any doubt or any question or they're thinking of joining an accelerator, they can really refer to the discussion and the guidance which you provided on our session. They can listen to this and of course come to you directly for all their needs. That's great. So the next question I have is very interesting one, and it's very obvious as well, because we are all facing this problem of COVID. And similarly, our businesses are also facing some of the problems. So now my question to Sandy is, how has been COVID for your business? Has it been good, bad, worst, or excellent?
It's been a mix of both. Like in terms of revenue, I did lose revenue quite a bit. But in terms of our long-term strategy, the things that we were going to execute in 2021 moved to 2020. So like in terms of revenue, we had an agreement with YMCA, Dallas YMCA, to be in their 20 YMCAs. So I mean, the first year was going to be 6 YMCAs, so I lost 600K revenue because of that. But we were gonna build our platform and make it use the platform and license our content, and for even with YMCA contract too, like to make it easy and cheaper for them, we were gonna license and train their trainers. So, and we were gonna go more aggressively into K-12 market, licensing our content and addressing the major issue of this computer science is there are no CS teachers. Only 78 CS teachers graduated across the nation in 2018. So we were working on that market and that, but we were so busy with operations, we were not making much progress on that. So that got all the focus, and we were able to finish our product. So we are focusing on, and we brought on like one of my SVP is from Apple actually. He sold K-12 sales, and he brought on 3 more people. Everyone lived and breathed education sales for 15 to 20 years. So all that improvement happened because we had time to focus on strategy.
Wow, excellent. So you had mix of both. At one end, you were bleeding on the revenue front, but you did not lose hope, and you actually buckled up to come up with a new strategy so that you can target 2021, 2022, and many more years to come with an interestingly amazing platform, the tech platform which you are building. Many all the best, and I wish you all the luck for the platform as well. Nuri, you have seen lot of recessions. Like there have been approximately 3 recessions, if I'm not wrong, in your entire entrepreneurship journey. So how are the challenges or experience from the first recession helped you in second and second from the third, and how are you tackling COVID? We all want to learn from you.
Learning from me is not something we need to learn ourselves. What I've seen is that every one of them is different. As you and I discussed at the beginning of this, I think we're going to be talking about COVID as we enter 2021, and the effects of COVID I don't think are going to be known for a very long time. When I discuss this with friends and otherwise, business associates, I think this is the greatest systemic change to our world since 9/11, 19 years ago. Much greater than the mortgage crisis of 2008, much greater than the savings and loan crisis of the late 90s, the late 80s and early 90s. I don't know how this is going to affect our business long term. I'll tell you that we thought we would have had our first customer installed by now, and that hasn't happened, and it's been 6 months. And we were looking at installing them in April. So the effects are unknown for all of us. I think you're going to see more litigation in the United States than has ever occurred before, because the people not reacting fast enough to closing their business down, people requiring people to return to work. the exposure that a person that works at Safeway or some other place to a person that refuses to wear a mask. There are just there's so much to consider. I don't know how this is going to affect us. When I look at metrics that affect simply our business, when the CEO of Verizon comes out in April and says that mobile traffic has increased by 1,200% in 30 days,
Wow.
that's a very large metric. But the question is, how does that affect my business? Does it bring me sales? No. Does it mean that there's greater exposure to our potential customers? It does, but it's not quantifiable. And we'll install our first customer next quarter, I believe. However, it's still a question. We don't know. And none of us know long-term how this is going to affect us. At this point, my focus is to simply not get sick. Very
All
simple.
right. Yes. Yes.
I'm home 20, 22 hours a day. I've become somewhat of a recluse. However, it's the safest action we can do is to have conversations like this. I would love to meet all of you face to face, but Sandy and Mona have children. That's not right for me as a human being to do that because it potentially could affect them. I don't know if you have children. It's not something we discussed.
No, no.
It's
I'm still a bachelor here.
that type of a vision where we have to say, how is what we do going to affect others?
Mm-hmm.
And that's how I'm living. And is it boring? Sure. Do I miss, giving my mother a hug? I do. However, she's 81 years old and my responsibility is to protect her. And I do her grocery shopping. I pick up her prescriptions. I do everything that I can, but I don't get within 10 feet of her.
Right.
And that's the relationship that we have. But these are the choices. Look, I'm 58 years old, closer to 59. And in the end, this is a short-term inconvenience for our world. And if we act appropriately, if we act responsibly, if we protect one another, it will end sooner. And that's all we have to go for.
Excellent. Thank you so much for your two cents of wisdom. The last statement which you said is, if we act together and if we protect each other, it's gonna end soon. Yes, absolutely. In fact, so you said that you are just staying home for 20 to 22 hours a day and being reckless about your work and all. A lot of people nowadays, while they are home, are also investing a lot in innovation. A lot of folks whom we are serving, whom our clients are coming up with fantastic ideas, saying that, okay, I've came up with this. There was this problem, and I want to solve this problem by using some AI algorithms, some machine learning tools, and I want to make life easier. So when such ideas come to you, Mona, which are protected by patents or the brand names are protected by trademarks, how do you help them to get good funding? Does IP play an important role to get a funding? What is your take on that?
Priyank, in my experience, of course, IP has a lot of merit because there's something that the founder has come up with that is patentable, that's an asset for the organization, for the startup. But again, till you find ways to monetize that asset, it's still an untapped asset. So a company which has come up with an IP is a great thing. But how you've been able to utilize and monetize that IP is a lot more crucial.
Correct.
And which is where, and in the given situation, Priyank, that you were mentioning that, a lot of people are coming up with ideas. One, ideas are great, but in startup world, it's all about execution. So people get very cagey and very protective about the ideas that they have, signing NDAs, which I feel is little silly, to be honest, because your idea, the other person cannot copy your idea unless it has great execution. So that's where you kind of, we always, whenever we meet a startup and when they say that we need to sign an NDA, that's like a red signal for us.
Okay.
But we do help the startups, of course, where IPs are there is a intellectual property. We bring in our investors, but again, how well they've been able to execute that, how well they've been able to monetize is something that is always the focus. And in the current times, in the COVID situation, what we've done to support the community of entrepreneurs across is that our program, which used to be physical earlier, because we have offices in Gurgaon, which is like a suburb of Delhi, we've made it more virtual. So anybody can enroll, anybody who's sitting in any geography, any time zone can enroll for the program. And two, we've made it more like a rolling application. So earlier we used to run the cohort-based structure, which was twice a year. Now we've made a rolling application because there are so many ideas coming up. There are so many startups being founded during these times. And if we ask them to stay, hold on, and come for the next cohort, the entire 6 months is like an entire lifetime for a startup. So we can't really ask the startups to wait for those 6 months. And the kind of customization, the kind of intervention that we do with the startups, it's extremely personal and extremely customized. So it doesn't really matter what point in time you join the cohort.
All right, great. So you mentioned that signing an NDA becomes a silly act at even a very, very early stage. But how about if, let's say, somebody has already developed a very fabulous tech software, okay, to, let's say, automate in status check of batteries, and he does not want his idea to be taken away, because as Sandy is teaching 5-year-old kids as well to learn programming, right? So those folks can just copy the idea, make their own software, and go to people like Nuri to get some funding from him, right? So of course, I believe is there will be certain hesitancy when they come to you saying that, okay, I have developed a software which can detect health of your batteries in real time. Would you like to take a look at it? And if, let's say, that guy gives you up with an NDA, then what would be your take, and how would they go ahead with that?
Again, of course, we'll sign the NDA. I mean, that was more like, that's the mindset, the psyche that we was talking about. Of course, if there is a IP that a startup holds, we take all the necessary, it's a process-driven program that we do. So there is a patent attorney who's, who kind of evaluates that. The attorney who's taking care of the valuation also takes into account the intrinsic value of the patent which is there, and what is the kind of future projections a patent could have, which can impact the valuation significantly. So all of those things, and of course we are not going to take the idea and execute it on our own, right?
Absolutely.
So we have our core competency, which is running the accelerator. And the kind of support that a startup would need is something that we work on, which is, again, we first do a technology assessment for the startup, how great, how sound the idea is, even if they've taken patents, because we have quite a few startups who have patents. But then even if you've taken patents, what is the execution level? What is the how far you've been in the overall journey, and how you've been able to go out to the market and kind of created your revenue stream and the impact in your customer segment.
Yes, great. So Nuri, you help a lot of companies raise valuation and get funds. Was trademarks, patents were also part of those transactions, or did they play any role in getting a higher check, a bigger amount of check from the investors?
We weren't, I wasn't involved in helping companies, and have never been involved with helping companies raise money. So what we did was, metaphorically, the fundraising are going to be the marching band at the front of the parade. What I would do would actually be the guy that came around with a broom and a bucket with a big garbage pail after the elephants. I basically cleaned up other people's problems. So we're at opposite ends of that. I have kind of a jaded view when it comes to NDAs, because in the conversations that we're having with various institutions at this time, in the end, an NDA is almost unenforceable for a small company like TechSmarter against a large company like, say, one of the 10 biggest banks in the world, or a conglomerate. And I'm not in any way, whether it be Amazon or Apple or Hewlett Packard or anybody else, in the end, it comes down to who's got the biggest hat. And we can't fiscally go toe to toe with an organization, even if we're right and somebody else is wrong. And we have no issue with any companies that I mentioned. I simply use them as examples. But in the end, it's going to come down to who has the staying power. And as a startup, you don't. So you have to listen to your intuition. You have to try to read the people. One of my business partners used to say that my greatest strength was reading people and getting a feel for them, my gut feeling about people early, and knowing who to trust and who not to trust. And in the land of COVID, it's very hard to tell how a person is, right? My family immigrated here from Turkey, right, in the 1960s. I talk with my hands, and I'm animated and things like that. And to some people, that's off-putting. But when I talk to people, if a person is sitting here and they're putting their hands together, or they're crossing their arms, their body language tells me much more than their words might. I pay attention to those things. And in this, you know, in the sense of all the three of you, what I see is basically your collar up. So I can't see your hands, what you're doing with your legs. Are you fidgeting? All the things that you look for as again, metaphorically, as a tell in poker. They don't play anymore. I mean, I love going to visit a potential client, going into their office and seeing that they coached Little League, or they coached soccer, or they coached Pop Warner, or their children horseback ride. There's always that commonality you can try to find with somebody. And it's difficult because what's behind the three of you is a white wall. What's behind me is a curtain and a couch that I have covered with towels so that my dog hair doesn't go everywhere. It's easier to wash the towels than it is to vacuum a couch. I'm inherently lazy, but the NDA part of it here in Silicon Valley, and Sandy will tell you this, they won't sign it, period. They will not sign an NDA. Most companies will not. And if it is signed, it's extremely limiting. And it's only good for a short period of time. So we don't even bother.
Okay, got it. Great. Thanks for the insight. And yes, asking all of us to actually adjust our cameras and show you all our hands. In fact, Mona and I were the first one to actually act on it. And in fact, Sandy started with showing us around her dog as well. So I believe, yes, we can also be part of your group. Right. All right. So we are about to end this discussion, which has been very fruitful. So far, we have talked about entrepreneurship. We have talked about how to get fundings. We have talked about what are the key components which we have to look for when we are enrolling ourselves for an accelerator program. We have talked about different challenges and how people are overcoming their own roadblocks by doing programmings, by building websites, by even launching companies at very, very early age. So that's interesting and exciting. Now I would like all of you guys, if you have questions for each other, you can ask those questions, one question each, and maybe that could be our last round of question, and we can call the day here. If anybody has a question, if Nuri has a question for, let's say, Mona, or Mona has a question for Sandy, or Either ways you can ask, or if you have any question for me, I'm happy to answer all of that.
Yeah, I mean, I can go. I have questions for actually all three of you. So Priyank, I mean, I don't know if you can answer this question in this kind of setting.
Mm-hmm.
What is your price range? I know you would only can tell what the question is. Like, if I want an IP for the platform,
Right.
what would
So
be the price range?
yes, so thank you so much, Sandy, for that question. So the price range completely depends upon the technology which we are working in, the amount of effort we're going to be putting in to look at different kind of protections, and that will decide that. Maybe we can have an offline discussion to talk about the prices, because that is not, we do not have a fixed menu card which can go along and we can have it common for everybody. So that we can take offline for sure. Yes, thank you so
And
much.
you guys practice in, or do you help companies in other geographies?
Yes. So I am an engineer and a lawyer in India, and a patent attorney as well. So what we do is once we file an application, once we prepare an application, the application is prepared in English language, which is common for most of the jurisdiction. So same patent application goes to different countries and is filed through our network of associates in US, UK. Currently, in fact, my 80% of the customers are based out of US. They are small and medium-sized companies in Bay Area or nearby areas, and around 20 to 25% companies and individuals are from India as well. So we have to help people from UK, Australia, China, US, and we're gonna be soon also, and Singapore as well. So those are the jurisdictions which where we have already worked, and would of course be working across the globe.
My question for Mona is, Mona, you touched on some of the questions that I wanted to ask. Like you said, it's a rolling application, and the class is also a rolling class. We can start, if we get accepted, we can start anytime. And it's a 6-month program. Did I everything right so far?
It's 4 months program, 16 weeks, 4-month program.
Okay.
But Sandy, it could, again, while the program is for 4 months, the association is long term.
Okay, so do you would again like something similar to Nuri as Priyank? So do the company have to be in India, or do they have to move to India after the program? And what is the time commitment from the founding team if someone joins your program?
So Sandy, like I said earlier, the program that we used to run was physical. So that's where the requirement for, we would want people, the founders, to be coexisting so that they leverage maximum value out of the program. But with the program moving virtual, the location or the geography of the founder is less significant. So anybody, because there are startups now, we have one of the startups which is based out of Singapore. There's one which is working, where we're working with in India, but in Bangalore. So all of them are not co-located. So in terms of location, that's not a constraint anymore. In terms of commitment, again, what we tell our founders, it's up to the founders to get the maximum value out of this ecosystem that we've put together. We have a battery of mentors. We have, of course, a network of investors. We have, the founding team of India Accelerator themselves. We get very actively involved in the startups, having discussions. So there's a weekly deep dive that we do with the startups when they come on board. So there's a technology assessment that we do. There's a marketing assessment. There's a need analysis, what specific requirements a startup would have. And then we come up with the OKRs, the framework for Google, which is objectives and key results, to understand what is it that you want to achieve in the next 4 months of our association. And then we work very actively on that. So the commitment, what we would say, is all up to the founders, but at least 2 to 3 hours in a week is something that you should take out and try and get that bandwidth, dedicate that bandwidth to this work.
Okay, thanks, Mona. So Nuri, you seem to have a lot of experience raising funds in the Silicon Valley. So can you give me some advice on how I should do the same thing?
In fundraising, thank you for that. That's kind. I don't have a lot of experience. I've just been doing it a long time. And there is a material difference.
That says a lot. You get funds right away.
He can just pick up the phone and get as many amount he wants.
If in some cases it takes months or years to raise funding. The secret is there is no secret. Look, there's a time where people will realize that your product is ready, your service is ready, where it's got market acceptance. It has the necessary tools in order to compete with people that are in the space that are perhaps better funded than you, have a larger team than you, are geographically located in a more advantageous position. There's 100 different things. When we built AuctionNet, eBay was already public. And the question was, how are you going to compete with these people? They have more money than anybody. And the answer was, we did it differently. Approaching a problem in a different way, right? And the ultimate example of this is Google. Google went to Excited Home to sell their business for under $5 million. And they said no. And where's Excited Home today? Right? So what it tells you is believe in yourself, have that conviction, and do this long term. This can't be something you play the hokey pokey with. You can't have your foot in and have your foot out. You talk about balance, you talk about all these things that are necessary. Ground yourself with your family, with your children, with the people that you work with. And one of the things from the very beginning for me has always been, I've known the people that I work with, I've known their spouses by name, by knowing them. I've known their children by name, by knowing them. And those are the things, little things that a human being can do for another that makes them realize they're important to you. Tell them. The way that you tell your family that you love them, the way that you tell your friends that you love them, tell these people they're important to you. And don't hesitate. There's nothing wrong with letting somebody know that they're valuable. It's something we don't place enough value on.
Wow.
I'm happy to help. I'm happy to connect with you guys on LinkedIn, introduce you to anybody that's in my network, which is there. And so whatever I can do to help any one of you, I'm happy to do. As I said, I got lots of help early in my career, and even now later in my career, I get help from people. And that's how we build something great, is by utilizing the network and taking the degrees of separation, the 2, 3, and 4 degrees of separation, into expanding into an area where perhaps you're going to make an introduction for 2 people that can be successful together.
Wow, wonderful. Thank you so much, Nuri. That was a great piece of advice to make human connections with every individual we meet. Know the people who are working with you, know the people of your network. That's so important. And yes, thank you so much, everybody, for joining in. Before we just sign off for the session, I just wanted to give some introduction about Photon Legal as well, and the reason why we are doing this e-summit. So Photon Legal is a growing IP firm in India. We take care of patents, trademarks, copyright. We help businesses from across the globe to protect their ideas, their brand names, and protect their ideas to make millions of dollars for them by seeking the appropriate protection. And the very important thing which we do is we give them the knowledge why an IP is important and how you can actually identify what is your unique IP, why is your product different in the market, and how you can stop competition before even letting a competitor launch into the market. So these are all some of the things which we do differently at Photon Legal. We are all engineers and lawyers, and the team is very young, so we do things differently. And as I said, one of the very first thing at Photon Legal, which stands is for knowledge. We wanted to have knowledgeable speakers like you for the session, and there are other 10 more speakers lined up for subsequent days till 25th of September, where would be talking to a lot of them about their success stories, their startups, their challenges, how they are running successful businesses, and what all we can learn from you guys is immense. So I really want to thank you, all of you, Nuri, Mona, and Sandy, for your time, for being on this panel. And post this session, we're gonna be disseminating the small bites of our today's discussion, so that people can actually look at what answer you gave when I asked you about how an Indian accelerator works. So people can just go to YouTube, watch your video out and understand. People can watch out to Nuri's video and understand why having personal relationship with each other is important. People can go to Sandy's channel and learn how a small kid, like 5-year-old or 10-year-old guy, a bunch of guys started their own consulting business at a very young age. So this has been so much inspiring. Thank you again for being on the panel. Let's stay in touch and take care.
Thank you very much. Have a great day, everybody.
Thank you so much.
Great day.
It's great being part of this. And you said that your 20% of your customer base is in India. We need to change that. We need to increase your customer base. So let's see how
Yes.
we can kind of explore the synergies with our cohort.
Sure. Sounds exciting. Yes.
All right.
We'll be in touch, Mona. Yes. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Andy. Thanks.
Have a fantastic day, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye.